Since coming out to Vegas, we've already been to 3 major properties: the Bellagio, Resorts World, and the Rio. Today, we're checking another one off that list. That's right, this is the Encore / Wynn, one of the nicer, if not the nicest property on the Strip, and also one of my personal favorites. It's just so luxurious and comfortable in there, and of course they've got a poker room to match that. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to play today. Maybe 5-10, maybe 2-5, maybe 10-25, 50, who knows. They got all sorts of games going, but the one interesting thing about this poker room is that throughout the entire WSOP, they're not taking any call-ins to get on the list. The only way to get on the wait list is to just walk inside and talk to the person working the board. So who knows, we might have some dead time in the casino and I might just end up playing whatever game is available first. Either way, there will be poker. Let's get inside and play some cards. All right, guys, here we are at the Wynn playing some 5-10 no limit. There's no max buy-in for this game, so I decided to sit with $3,000, and in the very first hand dealt to me, I looked down at King Queen in the straddle. There's a limp for middle position, and then the button raises to 100 before action gets to me. Could go either way here between a call or a re-raise, being that the raise came from the button. But I literally just sat down, so I choose to just flat call since I don't know any of these guys yet, and also re-raising my very first hand is probably not the best look. So I call the 80 more, and so does the limper. 3 of us go into a flop of Queen 7-4 with 2 clubs. I check it, and it checks around. Turn is a 7 of clubs, bringing in the flush and pairing the middle card, so I check again. Limper checks 2, but this time the button bets $240. Not really the most comfortable spot now, but can't fold just yet after playing my hand so passively, so I make the call and the limper folds. Heads up to the 4 of spades on the river, double pairing the board. I check again, but this time the button just checks it back. Seems likely we've got the winner now, and indeed once I show, he mucks his cards. In the next one, the straddle is on and I get dealt pocket kings. I open from early position to 60 and only the big blind makes the call. Flop comes Queen 6 deuce. Big blind checks, I bet 40, and he calls. Turn is the 4 of spades, which shouldn't really change much, so when he checks again, I'm just going to keep betting. This time I size up to $300, and once again the big blind calls. River is the 5 of clubs, and for a third time he checks it over to me. Even though any 3 now makes a straight, it seems really unlikely he has one of those after calling the flop and the turn, so I think we still have the green light to value bet. And in my opinion, betting big here makes the most sense, as I could easily have a ton of bluffs that would want to do the same thing. So I bet $1,250, but after some thought, my opponent lets it go. Moving along, this next hand is actually pretty similar in how it plays out. I open Queen Jack this time to 60 from early position, and only the straddler calls. Flop is King 10-3. He checks, I bet 40 with our open-ended straight draw, and he calls. Turn is a 7. Straddler checks again. Now I bet $300, just like the previous hand, and once again, my opponent makes the call. River is interesting, the Queen of Spades, improving us to a pair, but most likely not the best hand. So when he checks a third time, I'm going for it. Seems to me he most likely has a king, but not necessarily a strong one after defending from the straddle. And like I said last hand, using a big size is my preferred route in situations where plenty of bluffing candidates are available. Such as Queen Jack, right? So I fire for $1,250 again, exactly like the last hand, except that time I had something good. Anyway, no time to even get nervous because he releases right away. A few minutes later, I look down at pocket kings again, but this time things get a lot more interesting. So there's an early position open to 60, middle position calls, and so does a player in late position. Action's on me now, and yeah, this is pretty much the dream spot. I'm in the small blind, so I raise it up to 360, and now the initial raiser bumps it up to 860. This isn't too surprising actually, because it does look like I could be making a move, trying to steal all the dead money. So as I'm thinking of how to continue against this guy, the player behind him who originally called the $60 raise now puts in a raise of his own, all the way up to $1,600. Action gets back to me, and I have no idea what's going on. On one hand, this looks really strong after seeing all this action in front of him, but on the other hand, if he had aces or whatever, why wouldn't he just raise himself the first time around, right? Because he just called the $60 initially. I mean, I guess he could be trapping in hopes that someone raises behind him, which I've done, but that just seems unlikely. I don't know, it's a super weird spot. I've got around 3,500 in my stack, and he has more, so it's pretty much an all-in or fold situation. I mean, what if he is trapping, but it's like queens or ace-king? I don't think I could live with myself, so whatever. After thinking it over for a bit, I just move all in. Initial raiser folds, but this guy behind him does make the call. Off to C5 cards, which don't really change anything. Kings are looking decent now, until we get shown aces. Pretty brutal hand, but running kings into aces is just part of the game sometimes. Right after that heartbreaking hand, I add another 4,000 and get moved from the must-move table to the main game. Here I get welcomed by 7-6 suited on the button. Straddle is on, so I open to $60 and get called just by the big blind. Flop comes King Jack 8 with one club. He checks it over to me. We've got some optimistic straight and flush draws, so I continue with a $50 bet, and he calls. Turn is a good one, the 3 of clubs, now giving me an actual flush draw. He checks, and I decide to continue betting. I mean, I could have some strong hands on this board, right? Big blind doesn't seem to think so, because he calls my $250 bet, so we're going to need some help on the river, which does come. It's the King of Clubs. Probably the best card in the deck, as my opponent most likely has a king after calling the flop and turn. Even better news is that now he decides to lead for $600. Quite a strong bet from him, but I'm still going for a raise. Sure, we could be up against a full house, but I would imagine sets and 2 pairs raise at some point, so the only hands I'm actually worried about are like Queen 10 of clubs or 10 9 of clubs. But if he's got one of those hands, bless his soul, because I'm still raising. I make it 1,600 now. No need to go too large since I wouldn't really have many bluffs here. Now my opponent goes into some deep thought before finally deciding to fold. Not what I wanted to see, but at least we're trending back in the right direction. In the next one, there's an early position open to 60 before action gets to me in the straddle looking down at Queen Jack of spades. Sometimes could raise this hand, but being that the open came from early position, I just call, and we go to a flop of 8-5-4 with 2 spades. I check, and now my opponent bets $100. This is a board where I could easily have sets, 2 pairs, straights, etc., all of which I would want to check raise here, so with the flush draw, I'm going to do the same thing. I kick it up to 330, but my opponent isn't done with it just yet, as he makes the call. Turn card is the deuce of hearts, and, well, for the same reasons I raised on the flop, I'm just going to keep betting. The only problem is this guy only has around $2,000 left, and I want to set up a pot-sized all-in on the river, so I elect on a wager of $430 here, after which he calls once again. So the pot is now around 1,600, and he has like 1,700 left in his stack. And as you guys can probably guess, it's all going on the line on pretty much any river card. The only difference with the 7 of spades is that now it's not a bluff. Doesn't change the plan though, so I send it in, but sadly, this time he folds. Later on, this hand comes up where middle position opens to 50, and I look down at Queen 10 of hearts from the small blind. Good candidate to raise, so I make it 220, and only the initial raiser calls. Flop comes 9-8-3 with 2 diamonds and 1 heart. I bet 150, just like I would with all my hands here, and now my opponent makes it 400. I've got 2 overcards as well as straight and flush possibilities, so I make the call. To be honest though, I think this hand is a bit too weak to call out of position. I mean, looking back, I guess a fold just seems cleaner, but anyway, I call and we see the 9 of clubs on the turn. I check it, but this time he checks it back. Kind of weird. Maybe he raised the flop with a flush draw so that he wouldn't have to face a big bet on the turn? I don't know. Either way, the river card is the Queen of Clubs. Not bad. I don't really see the value in betting here though, so I check again, and this time he bets $400. Not much of a decision getting such a good price with top pair, so I call, but unfortunately get shown king, queen of diamonds. Good hand, sir. At this point, we all play a $50 bomb pot in which I get dealt 9-8 of diamonds. Pretty good hand for being random, right? On top of that, we flop a flush draw on ace, queen, deuce. I'm in the small blind though, so I check, and action checks around. Turn is the jack of hearts, and after the flop checks around, it seems unlikely anyone is too strong, so I decide to bet $100, not necessarily expecting to take it down right away, but depending on what happens, we could try winning it on the river, either with another bet or just making a flush. Things are looking pretty good now, as it folds all the way around to the button. Last guy, come on man, just let it go. Okay, that's not letting it go, that's a raise. And I'm not calling with 9 high out of position, so I just fold, but I don't know. This hand felt weird. I mean, if he had king 10, then yeah, a raise makes sense. But even then, he made it pretty big, like $600 over my $100 bet. And if he had a pair or 2 pair, he would probably just call since my bet looks so strong into 6 players. I don't know. I had a weird feeling this guy might have seen my cards when I showed the camera, but who knows. Anyway, shortly after this hand, I decided to call it a night and live to fight another session. That didn't go very well. I only ended up playing like 4 hours, I think. Because, to be completely real with you guys, I just wasn't having a good time. I don't really need to play, and so if I don't want to play, I just head out. Plus, I'm pretty sure in that very last hand, the guy on my right saw my cards and didn't say anything. Not that it's against the rules for him to look at my hand if he can see it, but I guess I'll just say this. Whenever I can see someone else's hands, I let them know at least once. You know what I'm saying? But whatever, it is what it is. I guess that's just the nature of vlogging. Sometimes your cards are a little more exposed than they otherwise would be. But anyway, grand totals were in for 7,000, out for 39.32, for a loss of just a little over 3K. Not too bad considering that I got kings into aces for a bunch of money. Plus, it's hard to complain after winning really big at the Rio last week. And I actually had my biggest win ever at Morongo. I went back home for the weekend to see friends, family, and Megan. Ended up playing some 5-10, and things went really well, but didn't vlog that session, unfortunately. Anyway, bad news is lost some money today. Good news is I just got a text from Andrew Nemi about a meetup at some sort of bar tonight. It's called Rebar. For those of you guys who know it, it's like this place where you can buy and sell different items that are used to decorate the bar. I don't really know. I'm just going for a drink or two and to hang out with Andrew. Don't really know who else is going to be there, but sounds like a much better time than battling with these 5-10 regs here at the Wynn. So that's where we're going. Not the longest vlog tonight, but I hope you guys still at least enjoyed part of it. And at the very least, you got to see what it's like to not run super hot every session, right? But anyway, that's it for tonight, guys. As always, thanks so much for the support. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, if you did. And hopefully next vlog, we can find a better result. Who knows? But until then, guys, good luck at the tables. See you all next time. Peace.